Cassie and her best friend Lena sit in the school cafeteria watching Grayson Carter, the richest and most untouchable guy in school. Lena dares Cassie to make him fall for her before winter break. Cassie, always up for a challenge, accepts. Cassie knew that if she was going to win this bet, she had to be strategic. Grayson Carter wasn't just any guy. He was wealthy, smart, and completely uninterested in the girls who threw themselves at him. Winning him over wouldn't be as simple as flashing a smile or twirling her hair. If she wanted to succeed, she had to understand him first. Cassie begins researching Grayson, learning about his habits, hobbies, and weaknesses. By the end of the week, she had gathered enough intel to stage the perfect first meeting. The library was the ideal place, quiet, controlled, and a setting where he wouldn't immediately suspect her motives. That evening, Cassie dressed carefully, not too flashy, but just enough to catch attention. She wore a simple fitted sweater, jeans that hugged her figure just right, and wore her hair in loose waves. Casual, effortless, and just intriguing enough. She arrived at the library 10 minutes before Grayson usually did, giving her time to prepare. Cassie grabbed a book, one she didn't even bother to read the title of, and positioned herself near the east side window, just a few feet away from his usual spot. Her heart pounded slightly as she saw him enter, his usual black coffee in hand. He looked as put together as ever, dark tousled hair, crisp black jacket, and an aura of quiet arrogance. He walked straight to his preferred table, pulled out a book, and began reading, completely ignoring everything around him. Cassie took a deep breath. It was time. With perfectly rehearsed clumsiness, she took a step forward, ensuring her book slipped from her hands right as she passed his table. The loud thud broke the silence of the library, and several heads turned, including Grayson's. "Ugh, great," she muttered, kneeling to pick up the book. She expected him to go back to reading, but instead she noticed him watching her, his sharp blue eyes scanning her face as if trying to place her. This was her opening. "Sorry about that," she said with an embarrassed chuckle, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Guess I'm not great at multitasking. Reading and walking? Apparently not my thing." Grayson raised an eyebrow, his expression unreadable. "Maybe try one at a time," he said coolly, before glancing back at his book. Cassie suppressed a smirk. He may not have known it yet, but this was just the beginning. Grayson couldn't help but notice that Cassie was always around lately. At first, he brushed it off as a coincidence. After all, the library was open to everyone, and she had as much right to sit by the east side window as he did. But then there were the other moments, like how she seemed to bump into him in the hallways, always flashing that easy, confident smile before walking off as if it were nothing. Cassie manipulates a situation where she and Grayson are paired up for a school project. She uses it to spend more time with him. Grayson lets his guard down during a deep conversation, revealing his pressures as a billionaire's son. Cassie sees a side of him she never expected. Cassie's unexpected success catches the attention of Vivian, Grayson's ex, who still wants him. The competition begins. Cassie and Grayson sneak out to a bonfire party. Their connection grows, and Cassie forgets, for a moment, that it's all a game. Cassie starts feeling guilty as she realizes Grayson might actually be falling for her. Meanwhile, Lena reminds her of the bet. Grayson kisses Cassie in a moment of raw emotion. She should feel victorious, but instead her heart aches. Cassie starts avoiding Lena's texts about the bet. She knows this isn't just a game anymore. Grayson takes Cassie out on an actual date, and she realizes she doesn't want to hurt him. Vivian overhears Cassie and Lena talking about the bet. She plans revenge. Cassie is invited to Grayson's extravagant birthday party, but Lena crashes it, dropping hints about the bet. Grayson confesses his love, making Cassie's guilt unbearable. Cassie decides she will tell Grayson the truth, but before she can, Vivian beats her to it. Grayson finds out about the bet and feels utterly betrayed. He cuts Cassie off. Lena tries to justify their actions, but Cassie feels empty. She's lost him. Cassie isolates herself, struggling with the realization that she truly loved him. Vivian exposes the bet in front of the whole school. Cassie becomes the most hated girl overnight. Cassie faces bullying, judgment, and rumors. Grayson refuses to even look at her. Cassie tries to explain herself, but Grayson shuts her down. Despite his anger, Grayson struggles to forget Cassie. Cassie gets advice from an unlikely source, Grayson's younger sister. Cassie plans something big to prove her love is real. She confesses her true feelings in front of the whole school. Grayson starts softening, but still keeps his distance. Cassie confronts Lena, realizing their friendship was built on toxicity. Cassie shows she has changed, not just for Grayson, but for herself. Grayson finally agrees to hear her out. Cassie and Grayson slowly rebuild their friendship. Despite everything, their connection is undeniable. Grayson faces his own fears. Can he trust Cassie again? Grayson had always been careful about who he let in. Trust wasn't something he gave easily, especially when it came to people who had ulterior motives. And Cassie? She had given him every reason to walk away. Yet he couldn't stop thinking about her, even after the betrayal, after the public humiliation, after the anger that had burned through him like wildfire. There was still a part of him that remembered the moments that felt real. The late-night conversations, the way she challenged him instead of worshiping him like everyone else did, the way she seemed to actually understand him in a way no one else had. But the wound was still fresh. Cassie had played a game with his emotions, and while he had been falling, she had been keeping score. He had spent years keeping people at a distance to avoid this exact kind of pain, and yet, somehow, she had slipped past his defenses. If he let her back in, what would stop her from breaking him all over again? Cassie knew words wouldn't be enough. She had already apologized, explained, and poured her heart out to Grayson, but she could see it in his eyes. He wasn't convinced yet, and she didn't blame him. She had played a game with his heart, a cruel, selfish game that had started as a joke but ended with her falling harder than she ever imagined. She had been reckless, careless, and blind to the consequences. That girl, the one who made the bet, didn't deserve him. Cassie knew that words spoken in the heat of the moment wouldn't be enough. Grayson deserved more than a rushed apology or a desperate plea for forgiveness. If she truly wanted to prove she had changed, she had to lay herself bare to say everything she had been too afraid to say before. So she sat at her desk late into the night, staring at the blank page before her. The weight of everything, the lies, the betrayal, the regret, sat heavy on her chest as she gripped her pen and wrote a letter. Grayson surprises Cassie with a real date, one that isn't based on lies. Grayson asks Cassie one final question. Does she still love him? Cassie publicly declares her love without expecting anything in return. Grayson finally believes her, and they reunite. They stand together against rumors, proving their love is real. Cassie reflects on how a reckless bet led her to the greatest love of her life. Cassie and Grayson agree to take things slow, but their interactions are filled with hesitation. The trust isn't fully there yet, and Cassie knows she has to work harder to show him that she's changed. Despite Grayson softening, the past lingers. When students whisper about Cassie's game, it reignites his doubts. He questions whether his heart is safe with her. Lena, feeling abandoned by Cassie, leaks old text messages to the school, proof that Cassie had initially planned the bet. Grayson sees them and distances himself again. Cassie proves Vivian was lying. This time, Grayson sides with her. It's a small victory, but an important one. Even though they are just friends, Cassie and Grayson can't ignore their lingering feelings. Every glance, every accidental touch speaks volumes. At the school's holiday dance, Cassie doesn't expect anything special. But when Grayson pulls her onto the dance floor, she realizes this isn't just friendship anymore. Grayson nearly confesses his feelings again, but his fear stops him. Cassie, realizing he's still holding back, decides to take a risk. Cassie writes one final letter to Grayson, asking him to meet her at the place where it all started, the library. If he doesn't come, she promises to let go. Cassie waits, heart pounding. Just when she's about to give up, Grayson walks in. He tells her that even though he's scared, he doesn't want to lose her again. Grayson finally kisses Cassie, not out of anger, not out of confusion, but because he chooses her.